All right, welcome back to Terrible Technology. Well, one of our first videos about building a computer, we're going to have you learn the basics about CPUs, or Central Processing Units. So be right back. Well, there's so much to understand about it, and really the CPU is the brain of a system. So picking a CPU is the first thing that you do, basically. It's not necessarily the most fun thing, but it's the first thing that you do in order to choose a computer. So we're going to go into a little presentation here, and we're going to move me down here. Ooh. Okay, so there we go. Oh, look how little is a CPU. And we're going to do. We got it. Timber. Intel or AMD. There's really two companies out on the market that make CPUs. That's Intel and AMD. You really can't go wrong with either one. Choosing a CPU, or the Central Processing Unit, you're effectively choosing the brain. And it's vital to choose the brain wisely. You know, it thinks about everything. There are two manufacturers, AMD and Intel mostly, and these two are like two competitive brothers. And they're always one's always trying to get the upper hand on the other. So you're not going to have the latest for long because of the competitive nature these two have. And they're always trying to beat each other. They really are. So this is good, because we're always getting better and better and better. But it always changes, not as much as it did back, decades ago. We'll focus on the aspects of the chip and let you choose which company you'll go with. So, clock speed. This thing's called clock speed's measured in gigahertz, or GHz. Does it matter? Well, it can. It can, but not as much as you may think. So a lot of people might want to go with the fastest. If you can afford it, great. We'll talk about budgets too later. There are two numbers you will see posted on it, and it's the base speed of a CPU, or the max. And this speed, you can overclock the base speed to this maximum speed. This number tells you how fast the chip can run at, or the bigger the number, the faster the brain can think. Some chips are unlocked, meaning you can increase the speed beyond the base speed. Timber. So what's acceptable? Well, you'll see current CPUs in the 3 to 4 gigahertz range. Getting a CPU in the 4 gigahertz range is easy to do at an affordable price nowadays. Timber. So what's a core? Now you're going to see this. You see anywhere from 4 to 16 cores on the most CPUs. So think of a core as a multitasker. Each core can handle a task apart from the others. So this is important depending upon your use of the computer. If you create videos and graphics, these tasks are done in many, many layers. Wanting a CPU to multitask, or use of cores. But if you're a gamer, you don't need a bunch of cores. Games do not require it. But if you do what I do, you kind of want more cores. Timber. CPUs require power. Kind of sensible, right? Some much, much more than others, producing a lot more heat. More power usually increases your results. Although some chips are very efficient in the use of power to get good results. Intel, as a whole, uses a lot more power and produces a lot more heat. AMD usually is better at using power into results, and it's more efficient. Timber. I pressed the wrong button. Is this bad? No, it's not bad at all. You will have to compensate that, though, with an appropriate heatsink and cooler to control the heat. This can equal to higher costs. Think, too, the ambient temperature where you will have the computer. I'm here in my basement. It's really, really cold. I mean, I have an electric blanket. I mean, this is a very, very cold room, and I live in Oregon. But if I lived in Fresno, like I used to, it's 115 degrees in the summer. You're always running air conditioning. So understand where you're putting the computer. If it's in a hot environment, you really should think about this. Is the room cooled appropriately? So those are things that you probably never thought of, but if you live in Fresno, you might want to go with a more efficient CPU. But if you live there in Oregon, you can do what you want. So, gaming. Gaming wants a fast CPU, but really requires a really good GPU or graphics card, and that's on another lesson. A fast CPU relays information from the program to the GPU in a way that it can fully function. Now, you may hear the term bottleneck. Now, bottlenecking is a slowing down of things. It's a term used to describe a weak link causing a slowdown. A low-end CPU will do this to a high-end GPU. So if I bought an i3 or a Ryzen 3, which is introductory CPUs, and I bought a $2,000 GPU, that 4090, well, that poor GPU just couldn't operate fully. So that's called bottlenecking, sort of like on a freeway. A bottleneck just slows traffic down. You just don't want that to happen. For gaming, going with a middle-of-the-line CPU and saving money to spend on a better GPU really is a wise course. So most games are very GPU reliant. So think about that. Don't put all your money in a $700 CPU and a $250 GPU. You'd be better the other way around. $250 CPU and a $700, although GPUs, you can get a really good GPU at a fairly affordable price nowadays. Content creating is what I do. So content creators require cores. So these things that multitask to accomplish editing and graphic manipulation. When I make a video, it's one layer on top of another layer and another layer. If I do animation, there's all sorts of things that my computer needs to do at the same time. So now we need to purchase a CPU with multiple cores. The more the better. At least 8. You can get 16 core ones, but I think an 8 core is very affordable, and it does really, really well for editing and for content creating. GPUs do have an effect, but more on that in another lesson. So we'll talk about, you really don't have to spend a lot, but you can. It's just so much that we can do in content creating. Decision making, oh my goodness. So your budget has everything to do with it. So, really stay within a budget, and we'll talk about that in a second. We talked about purpose. Is it gaming? Is it just home computing? Home computing is like doing your bills and things like that. It's just simple stuff. It's an accounting computer. Whether you purchase an AMD or Intel, you're still going to get a great CPU. So your budget. A good gaming PC, just a good all-around gaming PC, you don't have to go beyond $1,000. So you'd be surprised what you can do with just $1,000 or under $1,000. In fact, you can probably play in that $700 to a $1,000 range for a decent gaming PC. Now you can go crazy, you really can. I mean, these are like budget, minimum budgets, type of thing that you could do. And content creating, you got to spend a little bit more because your CPU is more expensive. And then we're going to talk about storage later, but I use a lot of storage on my computer. So so just basic storage is 3 terabytes. But you'd be surprised how much storage I need when I'm doing content creating. And so even though I use a good CPU, a Ryzen 7, but I also require a lot more storage, which requires a little bit different on my motherboards and stuff like that. So, yeah, $1,100 will probably do just fine for a content creator. And then, of course, your home PC, just doing your accounting, your bills, your emails, stuff like that. To be honest, you could probably get around $600 or $700 right in there, and just be fine. You don't even need a GPU. You can get what we call an all-in-one CPU, where it has the graphics inside the CPU. That's an APU, all-in-one processing unit, and you don't even need a GPU, which is a lot of cost of a computer. So just doing just a basic home PC, you could save a lot of money. You don't need to spend a lot of money. In fact, I mean, $700 is pretty high, actually, for this. You could probably do it around, I don't know, 500, 600, somewhere around there. So that is our sort of presentation on your basics. Now let's go over to Amazon and let's look at a few of these. Now let's go to go to an APU. Let's go Ryzen 5 5700G. How much is that? All right, so so here's a 5700G or 5600G, either one. 6 core or 8 core, it doesn't matter, but $140. All right, that you don't even need a GPU. That is everything. So I mean, there are other parts we'll go into, but you could do something like, and Intel also does really, really well at creating all-in-ones, APUs. Here's another AMD. It's a 4600G 6 core, $100. So I mean, we could really get away with some pretty good stuff here. Now let's go into we'll type in just CPU. So that's your sort of home computing one. And you'd be surprised how many games you could play on it. So you could do a pretty good job there. So the Intel, they have these, it's 12700, 13600. These are generations, 12th generation, 13th generation, etc. Some are locked, some are not unlocked, and all AMD chips are unlocked, all of them. That means they'll have a base and then they'll have a max, and you can go ahead and unlock it. But here's a really nice Ryzen 5 6 core. So for the gamer, it is a great CPU. It really is a very good CPU at 4.2 gigahertz, or you could go over to the 5600 core, 5600 6 core, and it's a 4.6 gigahertz. So these right here are very good. And I have a 5800X, which has 8 cores, but here's a 5700G. It has the graphics in it. So you just go through these and sort of pick what you want. See, this is mine right here. So that's mine right there, a 5800X, and it's or 5700X is what I went with. I went with 5700X 8 core in this particular computer, but again, 4.6 gigahertz. So, and it actually, let's click on it. I'll show you what I mean about base and then overclocking. So this particular chip, doesn't have it. It's a, it doesn't really say, does it? My goodness. It's a 3.4 gigahertz base, and then I clock it up to 4.6. So right out of the box, it comes out at 3.4 gigahertz. But you have a very simple way of clocking these and increasing the speed. So, and they have a really good program. It's called a Ryzen Master. And Ryzen Master is a very simple program for you to go ahead and increase the clocks. So right here it shows you my base clock, but it also shows my maximum. So we can go to advance, and it'll actually help me to just choose something really simple to do. There's creator mode, game mode, things like that. I have it on curve optimizer, so it varies it. So, but I could put it on creator mode if I want. It's just a matter of a click of a button. It's really very simple. So I really enjoy that. All right, so let's do this. Get me big again. And display capture, and voila, I'm back. So, basics of CPUs, really basic, right? Is clock speed. Yeah, you'll be over 4 gigahertz. That's plenty. If you want to be a gamer, 6 cores is plenty. If you want to be a creator, 8 cores on up is going to do you really well. And a core is a tasker. So you don't need a whole lot of cores for gaming, but you would really appreciate it for editing and graphics and animation and things like that. The more heavy you are in creating, the more cores you will actually want. So if I did a lot of animation, it would be, I would want a 16 core. That would be awesome. Really awesome. Couldn't afford it. So your budget has everything to do with it. So choose a budget. Is it $500, $700, $1,000, more, $1,500, $1,500, whatever you want. So, and here's Bello. Bello visits me down here in the basement every once in a while, right, baby? So, just to, when it comes to your CPU, it's very important for you to choose wisely on this one. If you have any questions, just drop them down below, and I will try to answer them. And look at the I did a GPU comparison website on another video. We're going to go into next is going to be really motherboards, because you can waste a lot of money on motherboards. So once you pick your CPU, you got to pick a motherboard, which is the heart of the system. So I want to thank you guys for stopping by, and we will see you in the next video.